going to be looking at an event that happened known as the Croatia Grand Tour. In this event, Vishwanathan Anand is playing black and Maxime Bashir-Lagrave is playing white. And Maxime Bashir-Lagrave won first place in this tournament while Vishwanathan Anand won second place. And Maxime Bashir-Lagrave played really well this game, so without further ado, let's hop right in. So Maxime starts off with e4, and Anand plays c6 is the Karakan. Then he plays d4, d5, e5, which is the advanced variation. You just push this pawn, and then you develop all your pieces, and you simply take up more space in the center. So Anand plays bishop f5. So the idea here is you want to get your bishop out first before you lock up the center with e6, and then later you push c5 with knight d7. So Bashir plays knight to f3 followed by e6, and then white plays bishop to e2, just getting ready to castle, and c5 breaking open the center. So black just wants to break up the center, maybe put queen b6, knight c6, moves like that. So bishop to d3, just defending this pawn, queen to b6, and then knight to c3, just getting out all the pieces. White is completely developed where it's not so clear how black is going to develop the kingside pieces. So knight to c6, castle, queen takes b2, just grabbing the pawn, and then white plays queen to e1, defending the pawn. A better move here would have been to play knight to c5, threatening here, and then threatening here as well, but white just played here, defending the knight, takes, and then bishop to b4, pinning the knight, and then white plays rook to b1, attacking the queen. The bishop takes, rook takes the queen, bishop takes the queen, and then rook takes the bishop back. And then black plays b6 because he doesn't want the rook to take it. Here he plays h4, trying to get some kind of pawn storm in and trying to trap the bishop, because if white gets in the move g4 and black plays bishop back, you simply just play h5. It's a nice trick that many people fall for. So h5 just gives the bishop room to go back, and then doesn't allow the push of these two pawns. So knight just takes the bishop, and these two pawns are now, they're not in the same line as before. So white plays c4, attacking the d5 pawn. Black pushes, and then rook to d1, attacking the pawn again. Rook over, and then d5. So this move is kind of weak because white had this move, just putting more pressure on this pawn. Then after here, this pawn is lost. So white plays c5 and takes, and then rook to b7. Just what you want to do is you want to get your rooks on the 7th rank. So if your rooks are on the 7th rank, you just grab all these pawns, and then you have a passer here. So then what happens? So here Anand played knight to e7, takes, and then he brought the knight over here. So it's attacking this pawn and this pawn at the same time. So bishop to b5 check. Now the king needs to move away. The f8, that's the only square that it has. Then now Lagrave plays f4. So defending this pawn, and then the knight could simply just take here, but then now if the knight takes back, you simply have rook to f1, and then you get your pawn back. So rook to h6, and then bishop to c4, threatening to take here. So white plays knight to e7, covering this square. Then rook to b1, threatening to, and then this one here you want to double the rook, so you put more pressure on this knight, get it to move. So d3, pushing the pawn, bishop takes, and then so here you cannot take back, because if you take back rook to b8, that forces checkmate. That forces checkmate in 2, depends. If rook takes here, you could just play rook to b8, and then if black tries to play knight c8, you take it, and then if rook back, you just take that rook too. So knight to c6, attacks the rook. Rook back to a3, defending the bishop, and then rook to e6. Oops. Rook to e6, and then rook to c1, attacking the pawn. Knight to d4, and then rook takes the pawn. Rook to d7, and then now rook to c3, doubling the pawn, maybe threatening here, trying to trade the rooks. Rook to d7, and then now rook to c8. Black plays knight to f3, so this comes with the threat of taking here if he takes here. So white played king to f2. Takes, and then white takes this rook, giving a check, and then after black takes the rook back, you simply take the rook with, you simply take the knight with the king. Rook to d2, and then push the pawn. Rook king, bringing the king into the game, so black wants to push these pawns while getting the king over and attacking here. So g3 is simply defending these pawns. And then king over. He just simply wants to get your king out of this square, and then make the king more active. King to e6, rook to d1, threatening rook to a1, and then rook to e1 check. Rook there, he wants to trade rooks, and then rook to a1. King to d4, and then king back. King to c5, king to c7, getting the opposition. Then rook to c4, threatening king to b4 with a check. White plays rook to d1, and then a4, pushing the pass pawn. Rook to d2, and then pushing the pass pawn again. Rook to a2, you don't want to let this pawn to promote. Then king to b4, defending the pawn. King to b7, and now rook to a3. Rook to c2, and now a6 check. King to a7, and then now b5. Rook to c1, and then rook to d1, threatening rook to d7, and that's not going to be good for black. And now black here in this position, black resigned, because if you go here, you simply go king to c6, and you cannot take this pawn because you get mated here. So, and then if after here you go here, you simply go here, and then black does not have the other check to try to perpetual, and then if after here and then here, black simply goes king, but if black takes the pawn on a6, you have rook to a3, and then if the king has to go. If you go here, king to c6, and then if king takes here, that's a blunder because rook to a3, and then now if you go rook, then now your only move is to play here, and then you get here picking up the rook. So it's a very nice game. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. And this is actually a blitz game, so it's blitz round 2 of the Croatia Grand Tour. This happened 2 days ago, and so it's a 10-player robin, 10-player round robin with 20 time control is 25 minutes and 10-second increments. So every move you make, you get 10 seconds more. And so right now is the main event that's going on, and hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.